Good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you for helping make this giant pink triangle a reality. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. Let's hear it for the volunteers. I'm Patrick Carney, and I've organized this for 17 years since it began in 1996. Together, we, all of us, are the friends of the Pink Triangle. And what we're trying to do is get the message out of what can happen when hatred and bigotry become law, as they did under the Nazis in the 30s and 40s. We're all wearing our Pink Triangle t-shirts today in camaraderie for those who wore the Pink Triangle in concentration camps. They wore theirs not by choice, we wear ours by choice. The Pink Triangle is one of history's reminders of hate and intolerance, and part of appreciating and understanding where we are on Pride Weekend is understanding where we've been. So that's why we do this Pink Triangle, to remind people of the hatred and prejudice of the past, because it still exists in some parts of the world, and even though we have a wonderfully tolerant city, it's not so tolerant everywhere. I would like to welcome our honors guests, many of whom will be speaking soon. Please welcome Congresswoman, Democratic leader, Nancy Pelosi. The Mayor of San Francisco, the Honorable Ed Lee. Former Mayor and Lifetime Achievement Grand Marshal, Willie L. Brown, Jr. Senator Mark Leno. Assemblyperson Tom Ammiano. San Francisco Treasurer Jose Cisneros. The Assessor Recorder of the City, Bill Ting. President of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, David Chiu.
All right, David.
Supervisor David Campos. Supervisor Scott Wiener. Supervisor Malia Cohen. And we're thrilled to have so many of the Grand Marshals of the parade here today. Please welcome Dot Jones and TV's GLEE. Carmen Carrera of RuPaul's Drag Race. Carmen is a Global Grand Marshal Bishop Christopher Senyano. The Gilbert Baker's Pride Founders Award recipient, Gilbert Baker himself. Gilbert Baker is the creator of that international symbol, the rainbow flag. Individual Community Grand Marshals Rebecca Prosen. Gary, Virginia. We're honored Gary's here today because he's got a very busy day. He hosts a Pride brunch that's going on and starting in a half hour.
Hurry up!
Sister Roma. And we're thrilled to once again have the San Francisco Lesbian Gay Band, the official band of San Francisco. We'd like to thank all of these dignitaries. They have a very busy day, so we're honored that they're here. I'd like to quickly thank the sponsors. Toad Hall and Badlands owner, Ted Natali. San Francisco Pride. We have the board chair, Lisa Williams, as well as the executive director, Brendan Bevan here. The Masters of Perpetual Indulgence, the Castro Lions Club, President of the Castro Lions, S.F.Pride, Hodgkin's Jewelers. Thank you all. Thank you for Katie Hickox for the website. And DJ Dosh, one of the community Grand Marshals. And I would like to thank all of you who helped in this, especially my sister Colleen and my partner Hussein. Without them, this wouldn't have happened. And my mother in the corner, Edith Carney. Everyone should be so lucky to have Edith Carney, who so loves the game. We start off the program each year with a reminder of what the Pink Triangle is about and that such things still occur in the world today. So to tell the history of the Pink Triangle, please welcome Dot Jones, the star of GLEE.
This early. You guys are amazing. Thanks, Eddie. He told me I was speaking last. All right. The history of the Pink Triangle. The Pink Triangle was used by Nazis in concentration camps to identify and shame homosexuals. This symbol, which was used as an attempt to label and shame, has been embraced by the gay community as a symbol of pride. That's right. However, in the 1930s and 40s, there was nothing to celebrate concerning the Pink Triangle. Gays were forced to wear the Pink Triangle on their pockets in the concentration camps, to identify them as homosexuals, to set them apart from the other prisoners. Triangles of various colors were used to identify each category of undesirables. Who the hell were they? Yellow for the Jewish, brown for gypsies, red for political prisoners, green for criminals, black for antisocials, purple for Jehovah's Witness, blue for immigrants, and pink for homosexuals. The pink triangles were slightly larger than the other colored triangles so that the guards could identify them from a distance. It is said that those who wore the pink triangles were singled out by the guards to receive harsher treatment, and when the guards were finished with them, some of the other inmates would harm them as well. At the end of the war, when the concentration camps were finally liberated, virtually all of the prisoners were released except those who wore the pink triangle. Many of those with pink triangles on their pockets were put back into prison and the nightmare continued. It is the same kind of senseless, irrational hatred that still haunts gays, Jews, blacks, and other minorities today. The Taliban in Afghanistan required non-Muslims to wear identifying badges on their clothing, just as the Nazis required their undesirables to wear identifying logos so long ago. History repeats itself. That is why Twin Peaks, that is why the Twin Peaks display is so important. We must remind people of the hatred and prejudice of the past and to help educate others and prevent it from happening again. What happened at the Holocaust should never, ever be forgotten, and it certainly must never be repeated. Thank you.
So to illustrate that same kind of hatred that existed 75 years ago still exists in some parts of the world, we'd like to welcome Bishop Christopher Senyano to talk about his efforts in Uganda, where they actually had legislation to try and execute gays. Thank you for your efforts.
I am indeed privileged to say something what happened still in Uganda. Just like what I've just heard, what happened to in those olden days of the German persecution of the homosexuals. Homosexuality, as it is called in Uganda, could be punished by death, hanging, and imprisonment for life. And for those who they promote homosexuality, they could be also imprisoned for a number of years. And not reporting someone whom you know to be homosexual also can be punished. So, me being a counselor, it would be very difficult to live in such a situation. So what is being contemplated is legalizing persecution of LGBT people in Uganda. We thought that this bill had been forgotten or thrown out by the support we heard from all over the world. It had been shelved since 2009, but it has been revived. Unfortunately, some of the church leaders are behind this revival of this bill. And as I speak, I'm really worried what is going to happen. If it passed, those things which I've mentioned could take place in this modern world. I wonder how this could be possible. I do, in this 21st century. So we still hope that wiser councils would prevail and really resist and oppose such a legislation. This is a time to legalize love for all.
Yes.
I've been hearing from the speech of the different triangles. All those show that we need a global freedom, a global equality, so that people are not discriminated because of what they are. Homosexuals or LGBT people are also created by God, and they should be respected. This is the news which we want our churches also to hear. In Uganda, we have got a new archbishop. We hope he will be able to think again as a new leader that all these people, the LGBT people, also are created by God, who should be respected and accepted as human beings. We need legislating love for all without discrimination. Thank you.
Congresswoman and Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi has a long history of being one of the very best friends of the LGBT community. She is an ideal representation of San Francisco values. When she spoke at the Pink Triangle a number of years ago, she had just announced she was running for Minority Whip of the House. It was a pleasure to introduce her at that time as the next Minority Whip, as well as a future Speaker of the House. We're hoping that comes true again after the upcoming election. Please welcome our very own Congresswoman, Leader Nancy Pelosi.
very much, Patrick, for your kind words, for your great leadership in bringing us all together time and time again. As you were making the introductions earlier of all the elected officials, the members of the official family of San Francisco, the community leaders who are here, and the list goes on, I was recalling that, Bishop, recently I was in Liberia, and we were dedicating a library to my colleague, who's now since deceased, Donald Payne, Willie. And when we were there, everybody in Liberia was there, and say they listed all these people, then they may be in 12, 13, 14 speakers, and everybody who got up listed the names of everybody who had been named. And what an honor it was to be here with Mayor Lee and Mayor Brown and the marshals of the parade, and go on and on. So finally, about the 12th speaker, and it was boiling hot, and it was getting hotter and hotter, and we were in our native dress over top our other clothes. It was warmer and warmer, and finally one speaker got up and got the biggest applause of all when he said, "To all of the honored guests who are here, honors granted." And so that set the pace for what came later. But that doesn't mean I was just thrilled and delighted to be here with everyone. I want to give a special welcome. It's always an honor to be with the mayor. Being raised in the mayor's home, I can't acknowledge how honored we are for an occasion such as this, that Mayor Lee and all the leadership he brings with it is with us this morning. And Willie Brown in California, he started all with this consenting adults legislation way back when in Gilbert Baker, you've decorated many of our homes with your rainbow flag.
Yes.
And again, the Bishop, welcome. We're like family to each other. Some say San Francisco is such a tolerant city. I reject that. I say this isn't about tolerance. That almost has a little condescension to it. It's about respect. It's about taking pride, and that is what this weekend is about. And this, as was mentioned so well by Dot, the history of this, it was a symbol of discrimination and scorn. It's now a source of pride that we wear the pink triangle. We all know that. I just want to take a moment to say to the Bishop that I had the occasion to meet with the Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda, a woman. She came to my office, and we have, shall we say, foreign policy cooperation. We give them aid, and we talked about that. And I think she was coming to talk about that, but I was coming to the meeting to talk about the legislation in Uganda. And I told her that was just sort of such a deal breaker for us that a country would even consider such legislation. She said, Bishop, that, oh no, this isn't what you think it is. It's just about protecting children. That's what she said. I'm just telling you about the meeting. But I made it clear that may be the public face they want to put on the United States. But we were following it very, very closely. And the respect we have for a country and the willingness for us to do more in terms of cooperation really rested on that, what happens with all of that. Uganda, and I know you've been part of this, has done good work in trying to address the AIDS crisis, and so that's one of the reasons that we are cooperating. But to say that we respect a country to the extent that it respects its own people, and this is a very important measure of that respect for us. I'm not sure she expected the Speaker of the House here to have that as the top priority in the conversation. So I accept your kind words on behalf of our House Democratic Caucus, which took the lead with Barney Frank and Tammy Baldwin and Jared Polis and others to pass a fully inclusive hate crimes legislation. People said, oh, we can do it, just take off the transgender part. I said, well, if you want to take off the transgender part, let's just do that. because they're the most discriminated against people. But as it turns out, we did the whole bill. Mr. Mayor, thank you for associating yourself with the aspirations of the transgender community. We were so excited to pass the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Now we have plenty of work to make sure that their military families, same-sex military families, get the same opportunities that other military families do. And that when our servicemen and women who patriotically served our country but might have been discharged under less than ideal circumstances, that the record is set straight for them, and if they want to be recommissioned into the military, it is done with all the respect that they deserve. So we have a little more work to do there in the implementation of it. And of course we must pass ENDA, and that's next on our agenda. We have to win to do that. And aren't we proud of our president? A great marriage equality. Marriage equality. For all the years that we've all been speaking out about it with great pride here, wasn't it an emotional as well as an official experience for us to hear the President of the United States in such a beautiful way explain? Some people told me that the NAACP, Willie, coming out for it almost had a bigger impact because they're not politicians. And people thought, well, now we really are getting the full embrace. So it is, we have a lot to be proud of here, Bishop, because so much of it started here. Well, Stonewall, we'll give them credit for New York. We'll give them credit for New York. But we are also very proud of the work that was done here. And sadly for us, a lot of the work on HIV/AIDS was done here. That's why members of Congress from this area have taken the lead on the funding, the research, and the rest. And from day one, Bishop, we had a international mobilization against AIDS parade, a vigil in San Francisco right from the start, because there was a recognition that in order to deal with it appropriately at home, we had to deal with it globally. So your theme of global equality, whether it's HIV/AIDS or marriage equality across the board, we're all in this together. So I'm very honored to be here with all of you. You thought that since I wasn't going to acknowledge all the electeds that maybe I would have brief remarks. I did have a full-fledged speech, and I'll put it on the internet, and I won't read it if you promise to read it there. But anyway, it honors all of you who worked so hard. Well, you know, this is really such a source of pride to all of us. Edith, what a son you have. Aren't you proud? So thank you all very much. In 2 weeks, I'll be going to Massachusetts to attend the wedding of the first member of Congress to be married to, in the same-sex wedding ceremony, the marriage of Barney Frank. And I'm going to tell all of them about all of you. He will make history when he does that. I have no doubt. There's a lot of love up here. Well, he will make history when he gets married to his to Jimmy, and but when he makes that history, we'll all be making progress. And as I say I said to him in New York when we had an engagement party for him there, all of his statement about the Pink Triangle, all of this statement about the Great Gay Pride Parade, all of this fight that we have to end discrimination in every way in the workplace and hate crimes and the rest of that. Thank you for doing what is so patriotic. In doing so, we honor the vows of our founders for equality, and we make America more American. Thank you all very much.
Our Lifetime Achievement Grand Marshal, Willie Brown, is going to take over my duties and introduce all the other elected officials. But I would just like to remark that as an architect, it was a great honor to be the team liaison for the joint venture that renovated City Hall for 4 years and to work directly with Willie Brown for the team presentations. And Mayor Brown, at our first meeting, you came in and said, just do what's right for the building and I'll take care of the money and the politics. And you certainly held true to your word, and the building is beautiful because you made sure that we did the right thing. Thank you. Please welcome Mayor Willie Brown.
How about the pink suede jacket?
It is a great honor for me to first receive the Lifetime Achievement Award and to be part of what is always an incredible San Francisco celebration. Tomorrow in particular will be a great day. We'll be riding in the parade. And Rebecca just asked me, what are you going to wear tomorrow? I don't know yet. But it's going to be charged to the reconstruction of the building. It is my great honor and pleasure to let you know that when we finish in just a few minutes, all the dialogue behind us were champagne bottles. And these very important people who are up here each are going to take one of those champagne bottles and pop it so that it, I suppose you might say, gives birth and life to that incredible pink triangle which is on the side of this particular hill that have been put there by some incredible volunteers. But before that, we've got to hear from a couple of people. And the couple of people we're going to hear from, we're going to start with the real boss of our city, the man who runs the city day in and day out, and whom I hope will run the city for as long as he wishes. Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Brown, Leader Pelosi, Patrick, thank you very much. Just quickly, if I can invoke Leader Pelosi's story, honors granted. I'll make it quick. But really just 2 points. As you know, I'm not really a big speech maker, but I do want to say something from the heart as I was listening to all of the previous remarks and how important it is to teach and use these moments to teach other generations of what we have to do to end intolerance. I am very proud of the city for so many reasons. Time and time again, I have gone to the U.S. Conference of Mayors and talked to them about our city being the innovation capital of the world. What I realize and what I have more and more discussed with them is you can't have the best minds, the best talents of any city unless you unleash everybody in the city to participate. And that means we've got to work even harder to end intolerance, not only in our city, but all around our country. And so I know that's the really big secret. You can't be the innovation capital of the world unless the gay community, the Asian community, the African-American community, the Latino community, the transgender community, all participate at their utmost level. And so that's how we become the best city in the world. And tomorrow, when all of us are proudly walking with all of you in the Pride March, we'll be looking up to this Twin Peaks and seeing this very, very bright colors, identifying this mark and remembering what it means, educating other generations. I will say, I have to admit, when I look down on this hill, I've got also other memories. You know, when Willie appointed me DPW, we had to get the goats up here to make sure that the grass was down. So I'm still seeing these goats on the hillsides. Where are they? Well, Patrick, thank you again for all of the volunteers here. It takes a lot of effort to really clean this up, and then you see these busloads of visitors who are wondering what it is, and they get educated. on the beauty of our city and what it means. You know, the other thing I want to say, and again, it's really from the heart. You know, Leader Pelosi has been such a wonderful leader, and you know, it is really in her efforts and following her, and when the federal government was unable to fund the funds to make sure that we had the right monies for HIV and the right funds, and when the state and all of the effort that Senator Leno and Tom and others have put together to try to get the funding, and the budget wasn't there, and we had a little bit of luck in San Francisco. Well, we followed their leadership, and we made it up. We made those cuts up in San Francisco with the wonderful relationship that the mayor's office is working with all of the members of Board of Supervisors. And that's how we work together. We don't use the excuse that someone else cut us, or they couldn't figure it out, or the state could. It is all of our responsibilities to make sure that these programs are fully funded, that they reflect our care and our concern for all of our citizens. So with that, Leader Pelosi and Willie and Patrick, thank you very much for all of your leadership, and thank you all for working with us in our City Hall. Appreciate it.
State Senator Mark Leno.
Patrick, Hossein, Edith, your whole family, thank you for bringing us all together once again. It's such an honor to have our leader here, along with the mayor, former mayor, now Lifetime Achievement Award winner, Gilbert. Welcome back to San Francisco, all the Grand Marshals, and our entire elected family. Bishop, so honored to have you with us. I want to thank the San Francisco Lesbian Gay Freedom Band for being with us today. I have over the years taken on the role of recounting how the Nazis did what they did. And I'm going to do it in an abbreviated fashion this year. But they broke no laws. They changed the laws so they can continue to be able to discredit, dishonor, and then finally attempt to eliminate an entire population. First making it illegal for Jews to own property, for Jews to own businesses, for Jews to marry people that they may love. All of these prohibitions. I just want to recount how we have been making progress in the opposite direction. You know, it was just 40 years ago that it was 1972 when the American Psychiatric Association finally removed from its list of mental illnesses homosexuality. And that was an enormous game changer, because once that was done, leaders like Willie Brown, then in the State Assembly, could reverse state law, which at that time made it a felony for consensual adults of the same gender to have relations. And Willie loves telling the story. It's very dramatic. The vote was locked at 2020. He literally airlifted in the lieutenant governor from out of state to cast the deciding vote. But the part of the story that I like is Willie said when he'd come home on weekends, go to church with his wife and children, the church elders would take him aside and say, "Willie, is there something we should know?" But it was not a self-serving act. This was leadership in fighting for civil rights. And that's why Willie Brown is getting this award this weekend. So, as I do every year, I bring a proclamation for Patrick and Hossein, thanking them and all the volunteers. You know, this effort starts on Friday morning when Patrick takes a U-Haul truck to a storage locker where all of this is packed up all year, loads up the truck, brings the volunteers, begins to outline this thing on Friday, comes back, feeds everybody. Saturday morning, before break of dawn, filling out the triangle. This is an amazing effort, Patrick, and we're so indebted to you. And of course, I think this may help you complete wallpapering your bathroom. But, of course, as earnest as your efforts are, Patrick, and Hossein, and all of the volunteers and friends of the Pink Triangle, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for Edith. So we brought a proclamation for Edith Carney. And we look forward to celebrating your 90th birthday here in very short order. Thank you all for being here. Happy Pride.
California State Assemblyman from San Francisco, Tom Ammiano.
Thank you. Willie, I just got a text from Olivia Newton-John. She wants her jacket back. Oh, dear. Summer days. All right. Listen, I have to tell you, I've been around the block quite a few times, and even when I was young, Willie Brown, Nancy Pelosi, Art Agnos, and a whole host of people were there for us. It wasn't popular. They could have lost votes. They were attacked for other positions they've taken. So I do appreciate loyalty, and I think that today reminds us about what loyalty is all about. We will never forget those people in Germany who were forced to wear a pink triangle. And to my brother from Uganda, we will never let you down. You have the force of this community behind you. Until all that hate is resolved. Our history means a lot, but the future even means more. When you have the horror of Rick Santorum's and Brian Wilson's, and yes, Mitt Romney, and do you know, I have a confession to make. 46 years ago, I threw Mitt Romney down to the ground and cut and styled his hair, and I've never regretted it.
That remark should go viral. Patrick was kind enough earlier to identify members of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors and the other elected official family of San Francisco. Well, I don't think you got a chance to see them, and to see them together presents a much greater and more lasting picture. So, while I'm not going to ask each one of them to say anything, I'm going to ask them. I'm going to ask them to join me if they would. Obviously, the President of the Board of Supervisors, David Chiu, other members, come up so you can get a good photo shot. David Campos, where are you? Malia Cohen, where are you? Scott Wiener, where are you? And that's the four. And then Cisneros, the man who collects your taxes. And Phil Ting. Where's Phil Ting? Off to my left. This is part of the official family of the city and county of San Francisco, all of whom would love nothing better to speak. But I got the mic. What you're going to hear next is the band and then the champagne.